Good evening, guys. It's Amanda. Hello. It is a little after 6:30 p.m. today on Wednesday, and I'm sorry I haven't been on for the past week and a half or so. I know I've been posting videos about the animals, but I was fighting the effects of this neuropathy, this small fiber neuropathy that I fight. I was fighting the effects of that, and it can be very fatiguing and it feels like you're being burned with cigarettes. It feels like you have pins and needles going throughout your body. It feels like your limbs are on fire. No joke. So you have to be on a pain regimen for it. And it can get very fatiguing, By the grace of God, I fight every day to do everything I do with the animal sanctuary and around the house. And literally, you mentally have to constantly push through the pain. And it can get very fatiguing at times. And so that's what happened. I just got mentally and physically fatigued. And I just think my body had to rest. But now I'm back. And so I wanted to do a brief broadcast tonight and talk about a couple of things going on around the world now. So remember I said that I heard in my spirit, London Bridge is falling down, the whole song? Okay. And I said, keep your eyes on London. Okay, it seems London is falling apart at the seams here. We've got this thing with this baby, I think it's called Alder Children's Hospital. And I think his name is Alfie, baby Alfie. So we have that going on, which is atrocious. That is going to expose the web of corruption between the high courts and the doctors in London and socialized medicine. There is a connection here, guys. You have to look further than baby Alfie because it is tragic what is going on with this child. My heart is breaking for the child and for the parents. And I've been praying. But this is exposing how when you have socialized medicine, the web of corruption that happens then between the government and doctors. And then governments tell the doctors when to end somebody's life. This is all setting up, guys, for the very end times with the Antichrist. We're getting a glimpse right now of that, okay? The medicine and the government are fusing together more and more, okay? And this is exposing a very disturbing trend of courts being in cahoots with doctors, telling doctors when to end patients' lives. It's very scary, actually, and this is what's going on right now. So we have to look past baby Alfie to see that there are things being exposed with this pertaining to medicine and the government. And my, what a tangled web we weave with this. So that's something to keep your eyes on. Also, the London Bridge is falling down. Keep your eyes on Theresa May and the royal family. Watch the leader of London, okay, or the leader of really the United Kingdom. I mean, I think she gives a lot of her speeches out of London. But the leader of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, and watch the royal family. There is a changing of the guard happening. We saw it when we saw Billy Graham go home to be with the Lord, which I had put out a prophecy from the Lord January 2nd, 2018, saying that was going to happen this year. And just like the Lord said, it did happen. So now we've got a changing of the guard happening. Well, what happens at Buckingham Palace all the time, round the clock? You got a changing of the guard. Keep your eyes on the royal family right now. And keep your eyes on Theresa May. Because this London Bridge is falling down song that I heard in my spirit has to do with these areas. Okay? Also Syria. My, is Syria a hotbed of activity right now? And road to Damascus, right? On the road to Damascus. Well, Syria is symbolic right now of a lot of people that are going to have their road to Damascus moments. Because we're in a season where everything hidden has to be exposed, right? So you're going to see a lot of road to Damascus moments. But Syria has so many players in it right now from the war of Ezekiel. You've got Russia in Syria, okay? Then you've got, who else? Parts of Africa beginning maybe to show some interest in Syria. And you've got Iran showing interest in Syria. These are all major players in the war of Ezekiel right now, showing interest in Syria. Okay? There is a reason they are all fighting over Syria. Okay? Not only does Syria have resources that they can all use, okay? And the land they can all use. But this is end time biblical stuff as to why they're all fighting over Syria right now, okay? Because these players all got to come together and get in bed together for the War of Ezekiel to happen, right? So now you see Russia and Iran now lying together maybe when it comes to Syria, and you see the pieces on the chessboard beginning to move now. So keep your eyes on Syria, because the turmoil is not over in Syria yet. It is far from over, unfortunately, in Syria. Pray for the people of Syria because they're in a tough spot right now. Israel. I think we are going to see Israel rise up with Iran very soon. I think behind the scenes, there are things happening behind the scenes that we're not aware of at the moment, but we're going to become aware of very soon, where Iran is going to have no choice but to either disarm peacefully or be forcefully disarmed. Okay? North Korea is now beginning to disarm and back down. Iran is next. So watch Iran, because they're either going to disarm peacefully or they're going to be forcefully disarmed, and Israel is going to be a main player in that. I believe Israel is actually gearing up and getting themselves ready to bomb Iran, if need be, if the situation arises. Okay, I also think the United States leadership behind the scenes is doing a lot of things that we're not aware of in order to cause Iran to disarm their nuclear program. And we're going to watch that Iran deal fall apart at the seams. We're going to watch this Iran deal be picked apart one piece by one piece by one piece until probably there's no Iran deal left. So we're going to see that happen, okay? As it was in the days of Noah, so it'll be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And I'm noticing a lot of interesting trends popping up. So we've got the War of Ezekiel. We've got these players lining up, and we got things happening there. We got the government and socialized medicine coming together for the government to decide when somebody's life ends, which we're moving towards the Antichrist with that. The days of Noah. What went on in the days of Noah? I noticed an interesting trend that connects to this. You see all these tiny houses popping up, these portable tiny houses that people are living in now. They're getting rid of their big homes. They're building these like little luxury tiny homes. What did they live in the days of Noah? Small, portable tents. They lived in small, portable homes. And now suddenly you're seeing the trend pop up of all these small, portable homes. Okay, so we got that. We got the Nephilim to deal with too, because one of the main reasons, right, the Lord sent the flood was to destroy the Nephilim, the giants that had been created on the earth by fallen angels having relations with earthly women. They created the Nephilim. The Nephilim corrupted people so bad in every regard. I want to encourage you guys as a reference material to go look up the book of Enoch, because it gives a lot of information on what these giants did to corrupt people and why God had to do something about it. And it's very interesting because these giants taught people how to mine minerals from the earth, how to mine iron ore from the earth. Okay? They would teach women how to put on makeup for the sake of religious, ritualistic idol worship, which is not the reason why we wear makeup now, but that's where it started. They corrupted man in ways God never intended. And so God had to send the flood. So we do have to see the Nephilim, in some regard, enter the earth again. And yes, we've got very tall people popping up all over the earth now. That could be the representation of it. Or we could see some hybrid race pop up as we move closer and closer to, the end. And so in the days of Noah, these things were going on. Okay, you had the Nephilim, you had the small portable homes. People were marrying and being given in marriage, right? And there was commerce and all the things going on now. Okay, so we're seeing these trends more and more from the days of Noah come back. So That's something to keep your eyes on. Look at the book of Enoch as a reference material, and also go back and read what they were doing in the days of Noah in Genesis, okay? Because it talks about it, what they were doing in the days of Noah. So that's something to keep your eyes on also. You know, we have a lot of stuff going on around the world right now. And it's all setting up for the very end with the Antichrist coming, onto the scene. Do I think the Antichrist is alive today in some capacity, whether he's an infant or... Yes, I do. I absolutely believe the Antichrist is walking on this earth right now, which is a pretty scary thought. But you see the main players in the Middle East and in Europe aligning just as they should. Macron, who came over, the French president, he's a plant from the European Union to try to get President Trump not to back out of the Iran deal. He's a plant. He was sent by the European Union to try to get President Trump not to back out. However, the Lord may do something there where Macron, by the end of it, may jump ship on the European Union and side with the United States of America. Okay? And it's interesting because France set this up where they were one of the ones who went with America into Syria, looking like they're allying with America. And then here comes Macron right over afterwards to discuss the Iran deal. I don't think the timing of that is coincidental at all. Let's see what else we could talk about right now. We see wars and rumors of wars, famine, earthquakes. There's the food issue. Okay, this is what I want to talk about quickly. The food issue on the earth, okay? More and more we're beginning to see food crises arise on the earth, okay? Now, in the book of Ezekiel, when the war is spoken of, okay, the Lord says, I will put a hook in your jaw, right? He says to the countries of Russia and Iran and Germany and Ethiopia, and there's some other countries in there too. He's going to put a hook in their jaw and drag them into this war. Okay. A lot of people think the war will be fought over oil, but most of these countries have plenty of oil. But what are we beginning to see arise? The food shortage. What do you do with your mouth? You eat. What is God doing? Putting a hook in their jaw? These players in the war of Ezekiel, you're beginning to see in their countries food issues. In Russia, in Iran, you're beginning to see food shortages, even in South America. Food crises and not enough food arising, okay, for the people. Like these crises are literally arising as we speak. Well, what if the Lord all drags them into that war because none of them have food? Because there are food crises in their country where you think, well, Israel's a small country. How can Israel, by an act of God, produces 500 times more than it needs in food? Did you know that? Israel produces more than it could ever use in food. And all these countries now are beginning to lack food. So they're not marching on Israel because of oil. I think they're going to march on Israel because there are food crises in those countries, and they see Israel as their ticket out of it. They see Israel literally as their meal ticket. And the second God baits them and drags them in is as quick as God is going to destroy them and save Israel. So watch the food shortages right now going on around the planet. Pay careful attention to the players in the war of Ezekiel and their food issues right now, and how you may see food shortages arising in their countries and who they're aligning themselves with, okay? God has a score to settle with Germany because of what they did to the Jews with Adolf Hitler. That is why Germany is one of the countries that God is going to put a hook in their jaw and drag them into this war. And you know what? More and more Muslims are being led into Germany, and Germany is becoming corrupted more and more. Are all Muslims bad? No. There are actually some Muslims that are very lovely people. But the ones getting into Germany, most of them are there to corrupt that country and change it into Sharia law. Okay? Now, those radical Muslims hate the Jews. So Germany, more and more, if it goes in this direction, is going to be very easily baited into a war with Israel when it comes to the war of Ezekiel. But the Lord has a score to settle with Israel. I mean, not with Israel. He has a score to settle for Israel with Germany because of what was done to the Jews. God never forgot what was done to the Jews. And that is why Germany is indeed one of the countries in the war of Ezekiel. And pray for those in Germany right now who are Christians, who are crying out to God because they really need to be rescued. They really need to be rescued because Germany is going up in smoke right now. Germany and England are in a way going up in smoke in a lot of ways in socialized medicine when it comes to the Muslim population taking over more and more, having their own police, having their own Sharia law, not wanting to abide by the laws of that country. And they created this problem with open borders. Hey, let anybody in, no problem. If you wouldn't let a stranger into your house to sleep, then you really shouldn't be talking about open borders, because you're letting floods of damaged people in that are not being screened, and then you're expecting them to act normal. So you're letting floods and floods of damaged people and of people that have been programmed for centuries to defy freedom. And European Union let them all in. And now they're reaping what they sowed, and there is absolute chaos breaking out in Europe right now. And I think it's going to get worse in Europe. And I think we are going to see terrorist attacks of epic proportions happen in Europe if they don't wake up. Now, I do believe there is a movement happening in Europe. I do believe it's starting out small. I do believe the people's eyes are opening, and there is a great awakening to a degree happening across Europe, where people's eyes are opening to these policies, to what the European Union has done, and their voices are beginning to rise up and say enough. So we may see a movement in the near future arise in Europe because of the socialist policies that have been enacted in Europe. And there is a group that is beginning to reject it in England, in France, in Germany, and it's starting out small, but it is going to gain momentum. It's going to gain momentum, and we may see them make a lot of noise in the near future. Earthquakes and natural disasters. Yes, keep your eyes on natural disasters as a whole. So keep your eyes on them, because we're just going to see more and more natural disasters, hit, I think, especially the nations that are involved in the war of Ezekiel and that are involved in forsaking God's word. China, right now, China has a movement growing underground for God that is going to be explosive. The Chinese government cannot contain it. It doesn't matter how many people they arrest. The underground church is growing in droves. Yes, there are rumblings going on in China right now. Guys, pray for the Chinese people, because there are rumblings happening in China, and we are going to see, I think, something historic happen in China when it comes to Christianity, because it is boiling under the surface like a geyser, and it's going to blow. Watch China too for, we'll say, monumental events happening in China. Whether they're natural disasters, whether it's the underground church exploding out in the open, where the Chinese government just going to have a huge problem on their hands that they not going to be able to contain. Yep, China has sowed a lot of corruption, and they are going to reap their portion in this. They are definitely going to reap their portion. So watch China, Keep your eyes on California right now. California is shaking their fists at it. There's a difference between being frustrated and telling the Lord you're frustrated and you feel unloved and you feel like you're not worth anything. And there's a difference between shaking your fist at God and openly challenging him. And this is what California is doing. This is what the leadership of California is doing. They have gone way down the rabbit hole now. Way, way, way down the rabbit hole of sin, corruption, lies. We're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah times 10. And so now what the Lord is going to do, he's going to settle the score with California. I believe we're going to see, it may even be as soon as this year, monumental events happen in California, including an earthquake of massive, massive, massive proportions. And Hollywood is just the tip of the iceberg with Harvey Weinstein and this Me Too movement. Oh no. Hollywood is in to the most occultic, satanic garbage, and it is all going to surface. God is going to purge it. It is all going to surface to open people's eyes. Yes, there is a great awakening happening in this country and around the world, and the wicked practices that Hollywood and people in the government have been taking part in is no longer going to be a secret. And we are going to hear gasps rising up from the United States of America. I actually prophesied that from the Lord before the election, that we would see gasps and hear gasps rising up from the United States of America over what is exposed. And we're going to see horrific things with Hollywood exposed. Horrific, perverted things that only come from the hierarchy of the occult. And people are going to go from thinking these celebrities are so great to thinking they are monsters. You are going to see a movement rise up against Hollywood of people feeling like they were duped by these celebrities and people feeling like they were lied to and that these celebrities were really into every wicked and despicable practice. And it is going to come out. And yes, it's going to have to do with children. It's going to have to do with blood sacrifice. It's going to have to do with all these horrific things that are in the occult. And that is all going to come out in the wash with Hollywood. Harvey Weinstein was the tip of the iceberg. This was the tip of the iceberg. There is all sorts of occultic orders and things going on right now in Hollywood that are of a satanic nature. And God is literally going to rip the covers off of Hollywood and expose it for the horrificness that it is. Why is he doing that? So people will wake up and see what a cesspool this really is, and that these people are literally mouthpieces for the enemy. And the Lord is going to expose that agenda, and you are going to see truly what Hollywood and these celebrities practice and what they are built on, because their little interviews on late night talk shows of giggling and laughing is a cover. Because when people see what they are into, there is going to be a giant movement that arises against Hollywood and the music industry and its people. And they're going to be in big trouble. So keep your eyes on that right now too. I'll be doing a teaching in the next couple of days. Now that I'm beginning to feel better, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what to keep your eyes on around the world right now. Because there is so much wickedness that people were blind to, but now there is a great awakening happening and people are becoming wise to it. And the knowledge of the truth will set you free. So keep watching these guys, keep watching these areas and what we talked about. I'll go deeper into it. I'm just literally scratching the surface with these things, but I will go deeper into it. And in the next couple of days, I will be back to doing teachings, hopefully. And we can continue from there. So hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I'll talk to you soon. God bless you. Keep the faith.